In other words, whenever we are finding it that our loved ones are the cause of our possible sin, we have to take a stance against that. And if need be, we must also be willing to cut them off if by some chance they will be the cause of our stumbling. You know how the Lord said that if your hand offends you, cut it off. If your eye offends you, pluck it out. If your foot offends you, cut it off. And he quotes one of the Desert Fathers who say that it's better to go into paradise with one foot than to have 2 feet in hell. Of course, he mentioned the story of an elder Mount Athos who came to him, and an old monk came to him one time and asked, well, how can I cut my foot off and pluck my eye, do all these things? And he explained to him, well, you're not supposed to take that literally. That's just an allegorical way of speaking. He tried to explain to this older, but apparently very simple-minded monk. He used a couple of other examples. He used also the example of a drowning man as another illustration of this point. Be careful when you try to help someone who's drowning, because in trying to help that person, he may pull you in as well too, and the both of you will drown. Try to make sure that when you help a drowning man, you reach to him in such a way where you still have your own ground and you can still remain firm where you are, because if you're not careful, he can pull you down with him. So, in other words, better let him drown rather than both of you drown. Do what you can to help, but it's that thing with sin. If you see the man is mired and meshed in sin, and he wants to pull you into the sin as well, let him go into it if he has to. But don't go in with him, for you have to protect yourself. He also used the example that was given by Saint Cosmas de Los. Saint Cosmas de Los was the monk who lived at Father Ephraim's monastery for 17 years. He is a saint of our church, equal to the apostles. And he traveled throughout Greece under the Turkish occupation, trying to revivify the Orthodox faith among people who had distanced themselves from the truth. And he went all over Greece preaching the gospel. And he used this one example in terms of this idea of cutting off those people that can pull us away from the Lord. He said, when you come to a crossroads and you see a devil, do your cross, make the sign of the cross, and then continue. The devil will leave. On the other hand, if you come to a crossroads and you meet a woman, just by doing the sign of the cross, she will not leave. You have to take a firmer measure. Yeah. In order to make sure that you don't fall into sin. In other words, you yourself must cut off that passion, that relationship, that possibility of sin, if you wish to save yourself. And then he concludes with an example about a bus driver in Greece. This bus driver had a sign on his bus in the back of it. And the sign said, keep as far away from this bus as you would from your mother-in-law. In other words, keep your distance and all will go well with you. So he concludes with that, and his last words to us we understood in English. That's it.